Welcome back to Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur, where the Daf continues daily until the complete revelation of Mashiach ben David, that is, Messiah, the son of David. And today we'll be looking at Chullin 105, Chullin Daf Kuf He. And you might have noticed that the past week or so, I've been doing Yehoshua's Gematria time, Daf Yomi Shiur. I think it's been an interesting week, maybe week and a half, of doing Gematria words, and it's a bit rigorous to prepare Gematria words with the Daf. So I'm thinking maybe what I'll do is, and it may not even be necessary, maybe just an overload, maybe too many words. So maybe what I'll do is I'll switch off every other week. I'll do it's both the Daf, but one is with Gematria words and without. Maybe I'll reference some in this, but this is just Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur, just the regular one. And you notice that the tagline is different also. The tagline is in Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur. It's where the Daf continues daily until the complete revelation of Mashiach ben David. And Yehoshua's Gematria time, Daf Yomi Shiur, is in the end time. It's always a great time to learn the Daf Yomi in Gematria time. So anyway, we're in Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur now, where the Daf continues daily until the complete revelation of Mashiach ben David. And we're on the top of the page, Chullin 105, with words Ilema. And my pointer here, pointy pointer. They call it a yad. Or at the very top of the page. If we say that Beis Shammai say that one wipes out his mouth with solid food and does not need to rinse his mouth with water, since they maintain that wiping is more effective than rinsing. Beit Hillel say that he rinses his mouth in water and does not need to wipe his mouth, as rinsing is more effective. One can respond, but as for that which Rabbi Zera said, wiping of the mouth can be performed only with bread. In accordance with whose opinion is it? It is apparently in accordance with the opinion of Beit Shammai, since Beit Hillel do not require wiping. Yet, it is unlikely that Rabbi Zera would rule in accordance with the opinion of Beit Shammai rather than Beit Hillel. El Beit Shammai oimri mikaneach v'lo yiboy mediach v'Beis Hillel oimri maf mediach havilei mikulei Beit Shammai mechumrei Beis Hillel. Rather, one must explain the dispute as follows. Beis Shammai says that one wipes his mouth after eating meat and does not need to rinse his mouth as well. And Beit Hillel say that in addition to wiping, one must also rinse. This interpretation is difficult as well, since if so, this constitutes one of the disputes between them and involve leniencies of Beit Shammai and stringencies of Beit Hillel, and consequently let the Tana of Tractate Eduyot teach it alongside the other disputes listed there that involve leniencies of Beit Shammai and stringencies of Beit Hillel. El Beit Shammai oimrim mekaneach v'uadin lemediach. Beit Hillel oimrim mediach v'uadin mekaneach. Rather, one must interpret their statements as follows. Beit Shammai say that one wipes his mouth after eating meat, and the same is true of rinsing, meaning one must rinse his mouth as well. And Beit Hillel say that one rinses his mouth, and the same is true of wiping. And one sage said that one statement, and one sage said one statement, and one said another statement, and they do not disagree. Gufa. Omar Rabbi Zera. Here's the gematria bonus, even though it's not the gematria time Daf Yomi Shiur. Rabbi Zera is equal to 430, which equals Geula Shlema, the complete redemption. Gufa Omar Rabbi Zera. Ein kinuach haped b'pas v'hani milim b'dichtei aval b'disarela. After citing Rabbi Zera's statement tangentially, the Gemara discusses the matter itself. Rabbi Zera says wiping the mouth can be performed only with bread. The Gemara explains, and this statement applies only to bread prepared from wheat flour. But with regard to bread prepared from barley flour, one may not use it for wiping, as barley bread crumbles in the mouth and does not wipe thoroughly. אבל בעכו שלו להלחסה וכל מינה וכנוח לבר בקמחה תמרי וירקה. The Gemara adds, and even in the case of bread prepared from wheat flour, we said the halochet only with regard to cold bread, but as for warm bread, it is ineffective for wiping, even if made of wheat, as it softens and sticks to the palate, and does not wipe the mouth properly. And furthermore, even if the bread is cold, this statement applies only with regard to soft bread, but one may not wipe with hard bread. And one may not wipe with hard bread as it does not clean effectively. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is that the use of all items constitutes effective wiping, except for flour, dates, and vegetables. Boy mine ravasi me Rabbi Yochanan kamisha ben bosel vino amoloi veloi klum ini beha amar Rabbi Chizda ochel basar aso lechol gevina mutar lechol basar ela kamisha ben gevina lebasar levelakum. Rav Asi posed a dilemma to Rabbi Yochanan. How much time should one wait between eating meat and eating cheese? Rabbi Yochanan said to him, no time at all. The Gemara asks, is that so? But doesn't Rav Chizda say, if one ate meat, it is prohibited for him to eat cheese immediately? But if he ate cheese, it is permitted for him to eat meat without delay? Rather, Rav Asi actually asked Rabbi Yochanan the following question: how much time should one wait between eating cheese and eating meat? In response to this question, Rabbi Yochanan said to him, no time at all. Gufa, Amar Rav Chizda, Amar Rav Chizda, Achol basar nechol gevina mutar lechol basar. Amar Rav Bar Yosef, Rav Chizda, basar sheben shinayim malo. After tangentially citing a statement of Rav Chizda, the Gemara discusses the matter itself. Rav Chizda says, if one ate meat, it is prohibited for him to eat cheese immediately, as the meat contains fatty substances that stick to one's mouth and preserve the flavor of meat. But if he ate cheese, it is permitted for him to eat meat without delay. Rav Bar Yosef said to Rav Chizda, in the case of meat that is between the teeth, what is the halacha? Are these remnants considered meat to the extent that one may not eat cheese as long as they are in his mouth? In response, Rav Chizda read about him the following verse. While the meat was still between their teeth, in Numbers 11:33, this verse indicates that even when the meat is between one's teeth, it is still considered meat, and therefore one may not partake of cheese until the meat has been removed. Amar Maruk fana leha mirsa charabar chamra legabe abba tilu abba ki habe v'achir v'israel idna lo have achal givina al bechad hashta birunana beha seudata Hu de la achilna, lesudeta achrita achilna. Mar Ukva said, I am, with regard to this matter, like vinegar, son of wine. Interesting expression. I am like vinegar, son of wine, with respect to father, meaning my practice is inferior to that of my father. As father, if he were to eat meat at this time, would not eat cheese until tomorrow at this time. But as for me, only at this meal during which I eat meat, I do not eat cheese. At a different meal on the same day, I will eat cheese. Amar Shmuel ana lehami nisachala bar chamra. Legabi abeni lo amar v'yisaru nafsi zreze b'nei b'yoma. V'anor siyarna l'achad azimna. Shmuel tave tamar Shmuel ma nisayar nichse kol yom ha'mishkach ha'stera. Similarly, Shmuel said, I am with regard to this other matter like vinegar, son of wine, with respect to father. As father would patrol his property to examine its wives daily, but I patrol it once a day. The Gemara notes, in this regard, Shmuel conforms to his line of reasoning. As Shmuel said, one who patrols his property every day will find an exterior coin. Okay, Abai Havisayar Nechase Kol Yoma V'Yoma Yom Echad Pega Ba'arise Didare Bitcha Pitga Diofe Amale Hani Lehecha Amale Lebar Mar Lebemar Amale Gebar Kadmuch Rabanan. The Gemara relates that Abai would patrol his property each and every day. One day he encountered his sharecropper carrying a load of wood that the sharecropper intended to take for himself. Abai said to him, to where are you taking these logs of wood? The sharecropper said to him, to the master's house. Abai, who knew that the sharecropper had intended to take the wood for himself, said to him, the sages already preempted you when they said that one should patrol his property regularly, and they thereby prevented you from stealing the wood. Hey Chanino, kol hani estiri lemar Shmuel. Yom echad chazat sinora de bitka ba'are shekarle leglime kareche ozve begave. Rama karatu ina shesachrua amar ashkachtinu techulu istire demar Shmuel. The Gemara likewise relates that Ravasi would patrol his property every day. Each and every day, he said, where are all these exterior coins mentioned by Mar Shmuel? This patrol is not reaping me any benefit. One day, he saw a water channel that overflowed, causing water to flood into his land. He took off his cloak. He wrapped it and placed it inside the pipe to block the flow of water. He then raised his voice and people came and sealed the hole. He said, I have just found all the exterior coins mentioned by Mar Shmuel, as I would have suffered a great loss had I not patrolled my fields. Amar Rav Idi bar Ovin, Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Ashiyan, Ma'am Rishonim mitzvah v'chroim choive. Having mentioned the manner of washing hands during a meal, the Gemara discusses another matter concerning washing hands. Rav Idi bar Ovin says that Rav Yitzchak bar Ashiyan says the first waters, meaning washing hands before eating bread, are a mitzvah by rabbinic law, but the final waters, washing the hands of conclusion of the meal, my machronim chova, you see it by the Sfardim a lot. But the final waters, washing of the hands upon conclusion of the meal and before reciting grace of meals, are an obligation, a more stringent requirement. More stringent, God said. Meisvei, my rishonim achroim chova emtzaim reshus. The Gemara raises an objection to this ruling from a Braita. The first waters and the final waters are an obligation, whereas the middle waters between courses during the meal are optional. Apparently, the first waters are also an obligation, not a mitzvah. The Gemara responds, although the first waters are in fact a mitzvah, the Tana calls a mitzvah an obligation when compared to an optional requirement. Gufa. My rishonim achroinim choivam tzoim rishus rishonim noidel ben mechlui beinan gavi karka chorim noidel elavechni ve'amrila ein noidel gavi karka. The Gemara analyzes the matter itself. The full text of the Braita is as follows. The first waters and final waters are an obligation, whereas middle waters are optional. First waters one may wash either by spilling the water into a vessel or on the ground, but for final waters one washes only by pouring the water into a vessel. And some say a slightly different version of the Braita. For final waters, one may not wash by pouring the water onto the ground. My benayu, ika benayu, kinsa. The Gemara interjects, what is the difference between the two versions? The Gemara answers, there is a practical difference between them. And with regard to pouring the water on thin wood slivers on the ground, according to the first version, which requires that the water be poured into a vessel, one may not use such slivers for his purpose, whereas according to the second version, which merely prohibits pouring water onto the ground, one may use wood slivers. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yanai, Lo Yishanu Ela She'ein Hayad. And now we're continuing on to 105b. Soledes bahen. Aval yad soledes bahen ein noitin bahen. The Braita continues, with regard to first waters, one may wash either with hot water or with cold water. But for final waters, one may only wash with cold water, because hot water softens the hands and does not remove the dirt from them. The Gemara analyzes the statement that for first waters one may wash either with hot water or with cold water. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef says that Rabbi Yanai says they taught this halacha only in the case of where the hand does not recoil. Yad soledes means the hand recoils. We're now turning to 105b, Yad soledes. From the water's heat, but if the hand recoils from it, one may not wash with it. V'ika demasni, I mean, one wouldn't want to. I don't know why you have to say you shouldn't do something that's painful, but okay. V'ika demasni le'asef achroin minot le'nela b'soyin l'chamelo Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar Rabbi Yanai lo yishanu ela sheyad soledes bahen. Avalin hayad soledes bahen noitlin miklal l'shoyin ma'afal bish yad soledes bahen mutar. And there are those who teach a version of this statement with regard to the latter clause of the Braita. For final waters, one may wash only with cold water, but one may not wash with hot water. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef says that Rabbi Yanai says they taught that one may not use hot water only in a case where the water is so hot that the hand recoils from it. But if the hand does not recoil from it, one may wash with it. The Gemara comments, one can learn by inference from this version of the statement that in the case of first waters, even if the water is so hot that the hand recoils from it, it is permitted to use it for washing. Emsa'im l'reshus, Amar Reb Nachman lo yishanu ela bein tavshil letavshil, aval bein tavshil l'gvin achoyve. The Braita states that the middle waters are optional. Rabbi Nachman says they taught this only with regard to washing the hands between one cooked dish and another cooked dish served at a meal, but between a cooked dish and cheese there is an obligation to wash one's hands. Amar le Ravacha v'rei Ravashi Kol milchamai Amar le lo mibayim. The Braita further teaches that final waters are an obligation. Rabbi Yehuda, son of Rabbi Chia, says, for what reason did the sages say that final waters are an obligation? It is because sodomite salts, means salts of Sodom, is sometimes present, a small amount of which blinds the eye. Since sodomite salt could remain on one's hands, one must wash them after eating. Abaye said, and this type of dangerous salt is present in the proportion of a pinch in an entire core of regular salt. Ravacha, son of Rava, said to Rav Ashi, if one measured salt between meals, What is the halacha? Must he wash his hands afterward? He said to him, it is not necessary to say this. He is certainly obligated to do so. Down. Amar Abai v'reish havi yamina. Hay de la mashumaya masri alada. Mishum zuhama. Amar li mar mishum dishari ruach ra'a alayhur. Abai said, at first I would say that this halakha, that one may not wash his hands with final waters over the ground, is due to messiness. But the master Rabbah said to me that it is because an evil spirit rests upon the water, and passerby are liable to be afflicted. Kinakid inish kiselemeshte shemeyar devar kalkala vesuda amalima mishum dikashi ruach tzrodo. And Abai also said, at first, I would say that the reason for this statement of the sages that one should not take anything from the table when a person is holding a cup to drink is lest a mishap occur at the meal, meaning one holding the cup might have wanted the item that was taken, and since he is unable to speak, he will choke in his anger. Okay? But the master subsequently said to me, that is because it is bad for one's health, causing a spirit of pain in half his head, meaning a migraine, in other words. אבל דוחר בעמוס לסלן בה ולא אמרן מלמידים לצער לסעודתה אבל מידי לצער לסעודתה לסלן בה. And we said that this practice is prohibiting only if one takes an item. Excuse me a second, I dropped my yadit. Ilahu yadit. Where were we? My name is Moshe Ilahu Yadid. And we said that this practice is prohibited only if one takes an item from the table and does not put it back. But as for taking and putting it back, we have no problem with it. And likewise, we said that it is prohibited only if one takes the item beyond 4 cubits of the table, but if one leaves it within 4 cubits, we have no problem with it. And furthermore, we said it's halacha only with regard to an item necessary for the meal, but in the case of an item that is not necessary for the meal, we have no problem with it. Mar Rashi copied afilu as asisa umuchna de tabli miditzricha lezurata. The Gemara relates that Mar Ravashi was particular not to remove any object from the table when someone was holding his cup in his hand, even with regard to mortar and pestle for spices, like all items that are necessary for the meal. Okay, vital. Kanchi nishvara mishum minakriuta. Amalimar mishum nikashileniuta. And Abai further said, at first I would say that this practice that people collect the crumbs of bread after a meal is due to cleanliness, but the master subsequently said to me that it's because leaving them is bad for, or it can increase a person's vulnerability to poverty. Ahu gavra dahami mahadra leish suradin yusab bilo havi yachilei because yiranish vara minduva yom echad karach lipta ayavre amar hashtavada inafal biyadai batar deachil aiti mara ekrinu liavle shadinu nara shamedika marbai. The Gemara relates there was a certain man who was pursued by the ministering angel of poverty. But the angel was unable to impoverish him, as he was exceptionally careful with regard to crumbs. One day, that man broke his bread over grass, and some crumbs fell among the blades of grass. The angel said, now he will certainly fall into my hands, as he cannot collect all the crumbs. After the man ate, he brought a hoe. He uprooted the grass and he threw it into the river. I wonder why he did that. How does that help? He subsequently heard the ministering angel of poverty say, "Woe is me, as that man has removed me from my house." My position of comfort. I don't understand how that really does anything. He put it into the river. Why does that save it? Why does that make it any better? It doesn't make sense to me. Unless the whole idea is that it shouldn't be on the ground itself. But if it's in the water, it's no problem. Maybe that's it. יום רבי מרש הווה מן ההילולו שעתי אבופיה משום מייסודה אמר לי מר משום ניגשי לחרסם משדה קשי לחרסם מן הפרבה קשי לרשם מדחי קשי לניוסם מה תקנתה לשק אש שק אויה. And Abaye said at first, and Abaye said, and Abaye said at first, I would say that this practice, that people do not drink the foam from the top of a beverage, is followed because it is repulsive. But the master said to me that it is followed because it is bad for one's vulnerability to Qatar, whatever that is. Qatar? Alright? The Gemara comments drinking it is bad for Qatar, while blowing off the foam from the drink is bad for head pains. While removing it with one's hand is bad for poverty. If so, what is the remedy? How may one drink? He should sink the foam inside the beverage and then drink it. The Gemara notes the treatment for catarrh caused by the foam of wine is beer. The treatment for catarrh caused by the foam of beer is water. And for catarrh caused by the foam of waters, there is no remedy. And this is in accordance with the adage that people say, poverty follows the poor. Not only does a pauper have nothing to drink other than water, but there also is no treatment for the disease caused by his beverage. Amar limar. Abaye said, at first I would say that the reason for this practice that people do not eat vegetables from a bundle tied by the gardener is because it has the appearance of gluttony, as he does not wait to untie the bundle to eat. But the master said to me that it is because it is bad for one's vulnerability to witchcraft. Amar lehu ahimatronisa osvan behadaichu no osvuha. Amr milsa satan arba amrinun milsa shariua amru mayavidat alechu dilo mekanech lechu bechaspa lokati lechu kina manaichu loachil lechu yarka mikisha diasugino. Gemara relates, Rav Chizon and Rav Baravuna were traveling, and a certain matron said to them, seat me together with you on the boat. But they did not seat her alongside them. She said something, an incantation, and thereby tied the boat to its spot that it could not move. They too said something, and thereby released it. The matron said to them, what can I do to you? Witchcraft has no power over you, as after attending your bodily functions, you do not wipe yourselves with an earthenware shard, and you do not kill a louse that you find on your garments, and you do not eat vegetables from a bundle tied by the gardener. Amar Abaye Meresh Havyamina Haylo Achli Argan Nafalatika Mishuma Miasituta Meisuta. Amar Ima Mishum Nikosh Doleach Abaye Meresh Havyamina Haylo Yasvitute Mare Zeba Mishum Shofchim. Amar Ima Mishum Nishichim Zikin. And Abaye said, at first I would say as follows, the reason for this practice that people do not eat vegetables that fell on the table is because it is repulsive. And the master said to me that it is because it is bad for halitosis. And Abaye said, at first I would say that the reason for this practice that most people do not sit under a gutter is because of the waste water that pours out of it. But the master said to me that it is because demons are commonly found there. Atuha tute mar zeva bika atulikamed bravashi Abke shapura shamaite atalkamin amale amai tavit hachi amale hachi avi yasiba unai. The Gemara relates there were certain porters who were carrying a barrel of wine. When they wanted to rest, they placed it under a gutter, and the barrel burst. They came before Bravashi, who brought out horns and had them blown, as he excommunicated the demon out of that place. The demon came before Bravashi, and the sage said to it, "Why did you do this?" The demon said to him, "How else should I act when these men place a barrel on my ear?" Amar le'at beduchte shchichi rabbi my bait. Atu dishenitzel shlem amar le'ashtanami lekabeli. Mar zimna bi'apra. Kavale zimna ki mata zimna yakev ki asam le amai lo yeti zimnech. Amar le kol mili nitzari yuchazimi almeni. Lesnu nushus mishkalame. Adi meshkechinan mide dehevkera. Mar Bravashi said to it, "What are you doing in a place with where so many people are found? Where many people are found, you are the one who deviated from the norm. Go and pay them the value of the barrel of wine." The demon said to him, "Let the master now set a time for me so that I can find the money, and I will pay." Mar Bravashi set a time for his payment. When that time arrived, the demon delayed in coming to pay. When the demon eventually came, Mar Bravashi said to it, "Why did you not come at the time set for you?" The demon said to him, "With regard to any item that is tied up or sealed or measured or counted, we have no authority to take it. We are unable to obtain money until we find an ownerless item." For this reason, it took him a long time to find enough money to pay for the barrel. Amar Abai Beresh Avi Amina, Hai Deshadi Maya Bipuma Dechat Sava, Mishum Tzivta Amalim, Mar Mishum Likamayim Raoim. Abai said at first, I would say that this practice that people pour out a little water from the mouth of a pitcher before drinking from it is followed because of twigs it might contain. But the master said to me that it is followed because there are foul waters in the pitcher. Ahu bar sheda davi berav papa azalosui mai benahara yakav ki asu amrle amai yakavta amrlehu Ad the Gemara relates there was a certain son of a demon that was in her Papa's house as a servant. What's the son of a demon doing in her Papa's house as a servant? It went to bring water from the river, and it delayed in returning. When it came, the members of her Papa's household said to it, "Why do you delay?" It said to them, "I waited until the foul waters passed. In the meantime," it's interesting, to be continued.